Assalamu alaikum, everybody. This is Omar from Hijama Nation. I'm the co-founder and head Hijama coach. And today I'm really excited to be introducing you to one of our graduates. She's been very successful in several businesses, alhamdulillah. And we've seen her journey, we've seen her grow. So it's very exciting to share this information for you because she is a very inspirational role model, mashallah. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sister Gulshen Bano. She's based in Solihull in the West Midlands. And in some respects, she's a jack of all trades and master, but the saying goes, jack of all trades and master of none. But in her case, she actually is still a master and specialist and expert in the things that she has the trade experience in. So Sister Gulshen, can you please just give us some background about your qualifications and what you do, what your current skill set is, please?
So, Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thank you for the opportunity. It's lovely to speak to everybody. So, yes, my name's Gulshen. I'm based in Solihull in the West Midlands. I sort of serve the Birmingham, Solihull and West Midlands area. So my journey started many years ago. So my background is I'm a pharmacist. So I've been a pharmacist qualified for 21 years this year. And before being a pharmacist, I was at medical school. So I did 4 years at medical school in University of Wales College of Medicine, and then transferred over to a pharmacy degree. So I've got quite a sort of heavy medical related background. So practiced as a pharmacist for the NHS for 20 odd years. Still do practice, still do keep my hand in pharmacy and work as a pharmacist. So my background is very sort of related to medicine and sort of biology and the human physiology. And then as a pharmacist, very much related to drugs and synthetic compounds. And that's the word, I think, which is the important word to bring in here. But what I found as my experience as a pharmacist grew, and working with the NHS and working with drugs, and I've worked in sort of Christie's Hospital on chemo wards, so a wide branch of medicine. I started to look more and more towards sort of natural and more sort of unconventional styles of medicine to see how they work in the healing process. And I found I was generally practicing and advising my patients and customers a lot more just generally sort of towards the non-conventional side, just because it just felt a better way to practice what I did and to be able to lead people into a way which was non-synthetic compounds, and often drugs every drug has a side effect. And especially the older population, you see that coming through more and more. So I was naturally more inclined towards this. Unfortunately, sort of fast forward a few years, I found myself poorly, very poorly, just before having my second child. And I started myself looking at alternatives because what conventional medicine was offering me wasn't really an option I wanted to take. So I was at a place where I was given almost a terminal diagnosis, and I needed to look for something for me that worked better than conventional medication. And that's when I first came across Hijama Nation and Hijama. And I found a practitioner who did Hijama on me. And alhamdulillah, through the Hijama and the treatments I had, the more treatments I had, the better I got. And even doctors, on my journey, in my oncology wards and my oncology appointments, they couldn't explain how good my results were getting. And I teamed this with a lot of changes in my lifestyle. I became better at what I was eating. It was a much cleaner diet, whereas before I was probably sort of what everybody is regularly. You know, we eat junk, we drink fizzy pop, all the things we know we shouldn't do, and the processed foods, but we still do it because it's convenient and it's easy. So I re-looked at everything in my life. I re-looked at the diet I was eating, how fit I was, what I was doing. And this combined with the Hijama led to a complete total lifestyle change for me. Fast forward a couple of more years, and the more Hijama I had, the better my results got. And you could literally see in my bloods from the beginning of my Hijama journey towards the end, the difference of how my blood looked. Initially, it was a little bit graphic, but my blood was very black, very tarry, very thick. And then towards the end, as my results got better generally, so my immune system had totally plummeted. I had my neutrophil count, which should be sort of around the 5 mark, my neutrophil count was below 0.5. It was very, very, very low. I had no immune system. But the more hijama I had, the better my blood count got. And the doctors were, and I'd go back for my oncology appointment. So at this stage, I was going back every 2 weeks and having new bloods done. The doctors would always say, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, because we can't explain it. All we know is your immune system is getting better and better. I knew what I was doing. I knew I was doing hijama. And there were some doctors that did accept this. It's not for everybody. It's not something that everybody accepts, although we're talking almost 10 years ago, but this has got better and better and better. So the hijama journey led me from me having hijama to me then deciding that because it turned my life around completely, I'd like to practice and qualify as a hijama practitioner. So approached Hijama Nation and enrolled on their course. And as the story goes, there was no looking back. I then qualified as a hijama practitioner. And now I practice exactly what changed my life and turned my life around. So now I'm at a place where I'm officially in remission. They call it spontaneous remission because they can't explain it without. So I've gone from a terminal diagnosis where without chemo, they really gave me sort of like 5 to 10 years max. No, with chemo it was 5 to 10 years max. Without chemo it was less than that. And I decided not to take the chemo route, just did it completely through hijama. And now I'm in spontaneous remission. And I mean, I speak to my oncologists who are all really good friends of mine now, and they will always say, it worked for you, it's amazing, we can't explain it, and there's always going to be things we can't explain, but just keep doing what you're doing. So it was an all-round. It was hijama, alhamdulillah, lots and lots of faith and lots of prayers, and I do absolutely, and that's something I hold very dear, and I will say to all my patients and my sort of clients that I treat, you've got to have faith that this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to put goodness in what you're trying to do. A lot of prayers, a lot of faith, first and foremost, followed by putting my faith in hijama and the practice and following the path I was doing. Good eating, clean eating, and getting fitter generally, so a complete lifestyle change. So that's led me to where I am now. So I now practice as a hijama practitioner. I have my own sort of business, which I've been running for many years now, amongst other things. So that's certainly my hijama journey.
That's wonderful, truly amazing. It's very interesting. I was listening to you very carefully, and not once did you mention the word cancer. So you've called it a terminal condition, terminal diagnosis and terminal disease, but not once did you say the word cancer. So that's really interesting, because that's the big boogie monster, isn't it? That's the dirty word that everyone is so scared of, and they say there's no cure for cancer and everything. So just a disclaimer, we're not saying that hijama is the cure for cancer in this talk, and Hijama Nation doesn't propagate that. However, as it is a faith-based therapy, and we are practicing Muslims, and we know the spiritual significance of hijama cupping therapy, truly we have seen cases where people who had cancer diagnoses, or they had surgery or chemo or so forth, once they had the hijama, they just did so much better, and their recovery times were excellent, their immune systems built up. Now you're a living example of that. You've gone through that cycle. So it's really interesting for me, because you've got medical background, you've been in that industry, in that environment around doctors, then you've been given a life-threatening disease. And then on top of that, you've taken the natural route and you've chosen to embrace, alternative medicine. And you're saying that, in your heart, you feel that that's what made you better, that improved the condition of your blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a shadow of doubt. If there is nothing else I'm 100% in my life, it was this did work for me. However, exactly like you said, it's not something I would disclaim. And as a pharmacist, and ethically, I would never say to anybody to disclaim treatments that your doctors are suggesting or turn those down. And certainly as a pharmacist, I would never advocate for anybody to stop taking medications that have been prescribed. And often I think they both run very, very well side by side. For me at the time, it was a decision I took by myself because I needed to try. And I was always sort of down this route anyway, where I'd explore, before my own diagnosis, where I was exploring other alternative therapies, complementary therapies, so things like homeopathy, sort of back flower remedies. So I was already sort of going down that route as a drug, and I had knowledge of that. But I also had knowledge of chemotherapy and how that works on the body and what that does. And I was in a position in my life where I already had a young child. So my other son was 2 years old at the time. And I knew taking the chemo route at the time for me, because I felt so well, and I think that's a key thing. I did, despite this diagnosis sort of looming and hanging over and my blood results being so poor, I felt really, really well. I didn't feel unwell at that time. So I knew I had a chance to try something. And it's something you've got to do with the advice of your doctors and other people around you. It's not something as an unlearned person or somebody without the knowledge you do, where you turn down everything. And often I say run both side by side, and you'll find you probably end up needing less of the conventional as the complementary or the hijama gets you better on your journey. But for me at the time, it was a decision, and it was solely my decision. And my husband and I remember when we'd got my diagnosis, so I was 3 months pregnant at the time with my little one. We sort of walked away and looked at each other, and we have a very strong faith, and we really do, you know, I always put everything in the hands of us. And he said to me, so we either sit there with this diagnosis and weep and cry, or we say, do you know what is written is written, and what is meant to be, but we will do our best in every way possible. So I never, although this diagnosis was there and it was overhanging, and like you said, it's that big C word, and you always think, you know, this is there. I always saw it as what is written for me is written for me ultimately anyway. And I could go to the ends of the earth and nothing will change. But what I do know is I have knowledge, and I have the chance to explore other options. And that's what Allah gives us the knowledge for, to try and guide us. And alhamdulillah, it worked for me. And like I said, it was a lot of faith. There were many days spent on my knees praying for Allah to make this the journey, the right one for me. So it has to come with faith. It does not work blindly without faith. And we know that hijama is a sunnah treatment, and we know it's for the, you know, it doesn't cause any harm, and it is for the best. So I did put my faith in that, and alhamdulillah, for me it worked, and it bared fruition, and everything that I did along that journey. And it came with other changes. You cannot just say, because it's a holistic based therapy. It has to be with other changes where you look at all aspects of your life. And that includes the faith, and that includes diet, and that includes exercise. So as a holistic therapy, working alongside everything and making those correct changes, hand in my heart, absolutely. Without it, do I think, you know, everything is written, do I think I'd be there? I think it was a journey that was meant to be for me. And yeah, and it absolutely worked for me. And I know going forward, when I've treated patients or clients for various ailments, it's worked. So not only am I proof that it does work, I now have clients for various other treatments and things that I know it works. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Alhamdulillah, absolutely. And I think when we've been ill ourselves or sick, just like I have as well, you come from a place of complete conviction when you've seen the miracle results, and you know that that's what made you recover. And this is why we're doing these interviews, because they are inspirational stories to share with other people that will, you know, your story will resonate with others, and you'll be able to help them and encourage them to find alternative health solutions. And I think our main goal is to share hope. We want people to know that you don't have to feel like the world is going to end now because you've had this horrible diagnosis, or you're really sick and you have to give up, or the doctors can't give you any answers. And like you said, we really propagate the holistic aspects. That's what Hijama Nation has now become renowned for, and that's why we created the holistic hijama treatment system, where we're looking at faith as well as hijama, as well as even fasting, because it's important to cleanse the body. And, you know, all of these other practices such as exercise and diet and oxygenation and all of these things. So moving on now, can you tell us about your experience of the online model and actually learning hijama cupping with us?
Yeah, so we were laughing about this a little bit earlier about being online, how the world is now all online anyway. But yeah, for me, I mean, certainly as a busy mum and somebody who was working and as a pharmacist, the online model for me worked perfectly because it was convenient. It was something I could do. So all of my sessions were done when the children had been put to bed. I'd finished work, done the housework, and I could sit down and dedicate an hour and a half or whatever I needed just sit down, and it was my time to do it. So the convenience of that is fantastic. And often the problem with a lot of courses, and even university courses or college courses, you've got to go in, you've got to have that time in your day to do it. And there's busy, you know, women and men, and especially mums, and, you know, and business women and women that have other work to do. To take out time in your day where you've got to attend somewhere is often very, very difficult. So the convenience of the online model was amazing, because it meant I could do it in my time for a time that suited me. And if it meant I was off, you know, if I needed to be up at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning still doing it, it was there, it was accessible. So for me, it worked very, very well. So yeah, would I have possibly been able to do it so easily if I had to attend classes regularly? Probably not. But just being online, and as we know now, the world is complete. We are all online now, aren't we? It was, for me, it worked fantastically. It fitted in. If I needed to fit in sort of half an hour in the day because I had a half an hour spare, I could do it. I could do it in lunchtime. I could do it when the kids had gone to bed. I could do it early in the morning, especially during sort of when Fajr was earlier and I'd been up already. So I could dedicate sort of half an hour there, and it fitted in conveniently, really, really easily.
That's excellent. And that's how we designed it, to be flexible, to suit so many people. And to be honest, I actually modeled it on myself. I was my own avatar. It was a case of, you know, let's design this course and make it easy for people to learn globally, inshallah. So what did you think of the course material, and you know, which aspects were new for you that you were learning about hijama cupping therapy?
So the physiology and the biology for me wasn't as new, so I probably had a little bit of an advantage because of my background. So the anatomy terms or anatomical terms or the body wasn't that was quite easy for me, just because of my background. But a lot of the faith-based stuff, I mean, I learned so much stuff, and I don't claim by any realms of the imagination that I know everything that there is to know about my faith. But there was a lot of things like, so when we have about the moon and how that affects the body. A lot of the faith-based medicine parts were new to me and really, really interesting. The metaphysical side was huge, because I loved learning a lot about that, because we sort of know it and we grow up knowing it, but to see it written and how that works was amazing. So, I mean, not only is it increasing your knowledge, but it's actually so interesting. And I've used the material from what I learned off the course. So, I mean, I did the course a good few years ago now, actually. So it's been revamped and it's much newer now. But even at the time what I was using, I've used the knowledge from that so many times for so many people, just advising people, and it increased my knowledge massively. It increased my faith hugely as well, just with the material that was there. So you've got the two sides of it. You've got the sort of the physiology and anatomical side, which if you've not got that background, just means you've got to put in or invest a little bit more time. But it's still written in easy terms. The testing and the MCQs are easy. It's there, you could do it. And it's not just, and often the problem with online courses, you're sort of there and you do it and you're left to it. But there's always somebody to ask advice from. There's always there's the Facebook groups, and there's your online sort of email. And there's always somebody at HQ to ask if you're stuck and give advice. So you're not completely left on it. There's a really, really good support system behind it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you attended, I remember, one live practical training day in London with me. I remember that distinctly. And you've also had some live training with me in clinic in Birmingham. So how did you find those experiences?
Brilliant. So good. So it brings the online learning alive, doesn't it? So although I'd had hijama done on me, I'd actually never done hijama on anybody at all. It was just so new. And to be in a room for other amazing sisters, and it was lovely. We made so many friends, and it's a fabulous camaraderie. And I'd finally got to meet you, hadn't I, sis? I think that was the first time we met, and I was in awe of you. It was just such a privilege to meet you, and because you are so knowledgeable and so lovely. And you sort of see your sort of avatar on your face and line, and you know you exist, but to meet you, find it, and you're so lovely and so alhamdulillah, humble. And to see you practicing it first, and then we all got to have a go, and it was fabulous. It was lovely. And that literally flipped my journey on its head, and it absolutely threw me in love with hijama and wanting to be a practitioner. And just being able to use that knowledge practically, and it's not, and although when you're reading about it and how you got to do all the hijama, and it sounds like, oh my God, I'm never going to get to do this, how will I know? but you do, and the training and how you provided and the way you explained it was so easy, so under, and you were lovely and you made it fun, and it was a fabulous experience. It was lovely to be in a room with so many amazing other sisters as well.
Alhamdulillah, that's excellent. Yeah, I mean, we just love the practical training days. Me and the team, for us, it's, you know, putting names to faces and, you know, meeting all of the students. And it's nice that the students feel that, oh, we are a real company. We're not just some like vague, dodgy online, you know, cowboy company. You know, we are real. There is a real team, and we are doing hands-on training. And so it's a real privilege to meet everyone. So we're going to move on now to the final stage of your learning journey. So learning journeys never end actually, but once you graduated, how did that feel? And then what was the next step as you ventured out with your new hijama cupping therapy qualification?
Do you know, because you're doing all these modules and you see each one and there's light at the end of the tunnel and you're nearly there, and as you get to the end you're sort of doing it quicker and quicker because all you want to do is be able to qualify and go and practice. So yeah, it was like it. So I mean I've got a couple of degrees, so I've got sort of the biochemistry and the medicine and the pharmacy, and it was like getting this whole new qualification, which I was so proud of. So I was elated. I finished one. I was absolutely, and this is from somebody who's done multiple courses and multiple qualifications. Right. But for me, the hijama qualification was so special because it had been such a journey for me from when I'd first found hijama for getting me better, and to be able to qualify and be able to know that I'm qualified to practice and follow this journey and do it for other people alhamdulillah, it was amazing. It was really was. It was so special. It's really emotional. It makes me cry, but it was really special. I loved it. I loved the day I qualified, and then the certificate comes through, and it's fabulous. It's not just any qualification. This is being a hijama practitioner, to be able to follow the sunnah, to be able to take the journey further, to be able to help other people, to be able to, and it is about being able to help other people. So I then decided I was going to do this. So I ended up going part-time in my pharmacy and spending more and more time. Initially, I just had the odd few clients here and there, and I then decided to do it seriously and set up my own clinic. So I opened up, rented a room in a clinic, did it all up, just how I would have loved. The sort of room I wanted to have visited when I was having my hijama treatment. So it was beautiful, and that was really nice. And I was so proud, and I'd sit in my room on my own, just looking around, really proud of this fabulous room. And the more clients and ladies that would come and see me, and they loved it. It was such a fabulous environment to be in. So I ran my own clinic for a couple of years, and it was beautiful. But unfortunately, with lockdown and everything sort of going forward, it's sort of put an initial end to that. But yeah, opening your own clinic, I would say, if you can, and if you can afford to, and if you can find an ideal site. I mean, I was based in quite a predominantly Muslim area where I was practicing, and it was fabulous. It was an opportunity to meet so many amazing women and sisters and speak to them about hijama. And it's surprising how it's surprising how many people out there don't know of hijama or have never ever had hijama. But what I do know is for everybody that had never had it or never had hijama done on them, they've never looked back. It's completely changed so many aspects of their life and how they feel, and they will always come back and keep having hijama. So it's carrying the journey on and spreading the sunnah and spreading, the word and what hijama is.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hijama is just so impactful on a person's health that you do end up getting repeat customers. So, I want our students to all feel secure and safe in the knowledge. Obviously, the rizq is written from Allah, and you will only be given, what Allah has already planned for you. However, people should feel confident. So I know that you're saying that literally you stopped your pharmacy work, you went part-time, you were still doing that, I know, to focus on your complementary services. And then I know you were offering hijama cupping therapy. Your company, tell me about your company, what it was called, and the business side of things. Tell me in detail, which things you had to consider when you were starting up, things like startup costs, marketing, day-to-day running of the clinic. How did you manage all of that? And also, which services did you combine with your hijama to get more customers in?
So I've so my background as a pharmacist, so that was good for me anyway, because I had a lot of medical knowledge. So when somebody would come to me, I could already look at their medical history and sort of read out, but that's not essential. Just what you learn alone with on the course sets you up and serves you. And there's always people you can ask if there's something you're not sure about. So for me, I wanted to have a safe space where I could practice and I could have everything together. I'm very meticulous and I'm very organized, and I like everything to be sort of set in its place. So I really did want a room where I could practice from. And initially it was so where I rented a room was a beauty salon. So I had, and it was, like I said, it was in an area already where there would be a lot of interest from Muslims. So it just needed some advertising. So the salon that was based in advertised for me. We put posters up. I spent many days just sort of standing and speaking to other ladies as they came in and giving my leaflets out and explaining what I'm doing. And you'll be surprised how many people actually out there are looking for a good hijama therapist. And there's always hearsay that they know somebody, but here now, as a qualified CHP, you can say I'm qualified. And that's the beauty of this. You've not just done a one-day course, you've not done an overnight course. You've actually got a proper qualification, a proper certified qualification from a reputable company. And that holds, you know, such high, it's huge to be able to say I'm properly qualified. So you'll hear somebody say, oh, but so-and-so down the road does it from the front room and they did a course, 2-day course or something. And you can say, actually, I've done a thorough, complete online with examination and I've got letters off my name. So that's a huge thing to make sure. And for me, when I was looking to do a course, that's what I needed. I needed a reputable company, and I did my research, and that's really, really important. And every time it came back to Hijama Nation with the right qualifications and certified the right way. And as a professional and as a medical professional, there's certain things that you need to look for when you are qualifying in such a subject, and things like the continuous development, continual education, continual improvement are really, really important. And that's everything Hijama Nation does provide. So that was hugely important for me. And their professionalism, it's not just a backstreet course, it's professionally done with proper things in place, with regulations met, with stipulations in place. And you're very strict. You don't let anybody go off piste on their own and do random things. You're very strict about how you let people qualify. And that's really, really important. So that, with that in the background, getting patients, so clients in and getting ladies in was easy. It wasn't difficult at all. I explained what I did. I started off, had sort of my basic prices. Things like the equipment is a tiny bit of an investment. It's not huge though, it's not huge. And you don't need to start off with loads and loads of equipment at all. It's actually really, really simple. So there's a small investment in there. For me, it was a little bit more because I had my room painted and redecorated the way I wanted, but that doesn't have to be. It just needs to be a clean, hygiene room with, you know, a good sort of couch or a bench to work from. It's got to be clean though, it's got to be clinically clean, and Hijama Nation will give you the guidelines of everything. And as you practice and do more and more practical things, you'll realise what you do need. But it's not a huge investment at all. You know, a couple of £100 just to start off and set up is all it takes. It doesn't take thousands and thousands.
That's very useful to know, and I'm sure the new graduates will really benefit from that. So I know that you were integrating some other therapies. Tell me about those and the success of those services, particularly with women that you were coming across in a salon. So you kind of mixed businesses because, you know, there was crossover from the hijama detox with the salon customers as well. Tell me how you combined your weight loss programs and your other treatment services that you were offering, and how you decided on your packages.
So alhamdulillah, I'm a massage therapist as well, so I was already qualified in doing certain things. But a lot of the ladies that were coming into the salon, and it was just because it was a beauty salon, and hijama is, and you've got to understand this, hijama doesn't just treat one ailment and that's it. Hijama is a holistic treatment, so it's an all-round. So when we do just things like a basic cleanse or we do a detox, it's everything. And with that comes the responsibility of saying to people, eating properly and giving some basic nutrition wise. And there's something I would say, if you haven't got a any sort of basic knowledge, maybe do a basic nutrition course so you can give the best advice. And I know Hijama Nation does, they've got lots of additional things now on their course where they do advise the best type of foods to eat, the alkaline foods, but have some, and you'll find the more you practice, the more knowledge you'll want to gain for yourself anyway, because you want to do the best by the people you're treating. So I had some basic nutrition qualifications anyway, and how to advise. And along with that, so I offer a liposuction therapy, which is sort of weight loss. So for me, alhamdulillah, it's almost like it was always meant to be, and this was a path I was meant to be on. So with my pharmacy background and the sort of medical background, I could certainly advise on the physiology and the anatomical. And when people come in with a drug history, I can also already sort of see where they are medically and advise further. But often, and as we are, we're in that sort of, we're in those times where convenience foods and things are very easy to eat. People put on weight, you become overweight, and with that comes its natural problems anyway. So when people are having a detox, and just like a simple detox, you know, the Sunnah points, it's a great place to advise generally about general lifestyle and health and how to, because your body is, it's an amana to you, and you need to look after your body. And I mean, I'm not very big, and often the ladies will say to me, how are you so thin? How do you do this? And I say, it's just basic nutrition, basic exercise. But I did have a liposuction therapy business as well, which I offered alongside it. So hand in hand, it was almost like an all-round package. But it was never something I pushed. I had my sort of machine in the background, and often ladies would ask, what does it do? But for me, first of all, it's got to come from mindset. I always say to the ladies, I'm not going to sell you a package of liposuction if you're going to go away and still eat fatty foods and parathas and samosas and all the sort of Indian foods that we eat. It's got to be a mindset change as well. And when you're taking on things like hijama and you're having that, and you're having a sunnah treatment, you're sort of saying, I'm putting my faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you your body as an amana to look after, and you have a duty to look after it. So for not only for your sake, for your family's sake, for your children's sake, start looking after yourself. And then addition with that, if you need some help with sort of fat loss, I can certainly help you. But you've got to have the basics first about the right food, kind of foods, you know, eating more fresh fruit and vegetables, taking regular exercise, increasing your water intake. Then, you know, we've got the hijama as well, which is helping sort of internally. And then with that, then if you want to help with the fat loss, I can help you with that.
That's amazing. We're teaching that so much more on the course now. We already had the foundational knowledge, and now within the holistic hijama treatment system, it's all integrated. And, you know, it's amazing that you're talking about mindset, because that is the core philosophy of our course. Really, it's not a straightforward hijama diploma at all. Fundamentally, it's a course in traditional Islamic medicine now, because we're covering all aspects. And we're also talking about mindset training and coaching, and, you know, looking for root causes and stress levels and all of these things and how they affect the health. Now, the final part, or the current part of your journey, incorporating mindset training, because I think this is very, very important, and also physical exercise. So tell everyone what you're doing now.
So part of my journey at the time when I was looking to get fit and get fitter, I started learning Krav Maga self-defense. So this has been part of my journey for sort of the last 10 years, where I've been generally sort of slowly doing things. So I started learning Krav Maga self-defense. It got me very hit. So I was also asthmatic. And along with the hijama, the fitter I got, the better my asthma got, to the point where a couple of years later, I didn't need my inhalers anymore, didn't need to use anything at all. So I knew fitness was a huge part of it. And my fitness journey was doing Krav Maga and self-defense. And alhamdulillah, the more I learned, the better I got. And I loved it. And it changed my life completely. And it changed my fitness levels combined with everything else massively. And I'd often, and you'll find this when you are treating clients and customers, you will talk about their life and your life. And often I was saying, well, this is what I do. And the ladies I was treating, and a lot of them are Muslim ladies, and they live in an area, or especially in the current climate we're living, where wearing a hijab or being a Muslim and dressing slightly differently poses a threat to you, or poses a threat to people. And they would often say to me, do you know this? What would have happened if this? Can you teach me this? And I suddenly realized, actually, alongside with what I do, what I have and what I know with my knowledge of self-defense is really, really important. And it's these very ladies that need to be able to learn this as well, because it's so important for them to know some basic self-defense. So I then qualified as a Krav Maga instructor, and opened up my own self-defense school. So it's called Strike Back Self-Defense for Women. And I teach women and girls self-defense. It's not karate, taekwondo, kung fu. It is solid self-defense. So I teach now ladies things like hijab pulls. If somebody pulls your hijab, somebody pulls your bag, somebody grabs your wrist, drags you, threatens you. So again, it's quite a holistic approach. So we deal with it from the offset. So teaching things like de-escalation and awareness and being switched on enough not to be in a place where you may, you know, and noticing, picking up on body language, being confident enough by yourself to be able to stand up to this. And then ultimately the physical techniques, you know, if these things happen, how to get yourself out of them safely. And so it's a complete holistic thing. So not only do I treat you, I also teach you how to defend yourself. So I now run, alongside the Hijama Business, and Strike Back Self-Defense for Women, and teach ladies and women how to empower themselves. And again, it's an amazing journey. It's amazing seeing ladies who, and gosh, some of my hijabi sisters are the most feisty sisters you've ever met in your life, but it's bringing that out, and it's always there, and knowing it's okay. We are allowed to use our voices, we are allowed to shout, and we are allowed to defend ourselves, and giving you the empowerment to be able to be out with your children and walk the streets safely and not feel constantly threatened or constantly in danger. So that's the other business working alongside it.
Alhamdulillah, that's fantastic. So, I mean, what I love about this situation is that, like you said, it's holistic, because it is part of the Hijama Diploma, in a sense, where we're teaching people to have the positive mindset training and confidence. And the key word is always empowerment. And, you know, empowerment in knowledge of taking, you know, care of their health. They know that they can do that with the sunnah remedies. So they're fulfilling their sunnah. They're, you know, attaining good health, a maximum health with hijama and even fasting. And then on top of that, there's the physical exercise, but then there's the mindset. We're in a current climate of the pandemic and a lot of insecurity and anxiety, and people are really distraught and stressed out. And on top of that, there's so much Islamophobia. And, you know, I get scared. I'm worried for my kids generally, but my girls especially. So when they go out on the street, I want them to have that confidence and be able to fight back if a situation arises. So this is a really important part of, you know, your holistic health for any human being. I think it's not just if you're Muslim or whatever. It's just about having that empowerment about your own health, and not just relying on doctors or Western medicine and science and all of these things. So that's why I really wanted to share your journey, so that, you know, people in general can just see that it's okay and it is possible and you can do it, and there are so many benefits in it. I mean, you're a tiny tiddly little thing, and then knowing that you can knock out a guy literally in one move, you know, that's pretty hardcore. And to be able to teach young girls that's just so important, mashallah. So I want to thank you for doing that, and, you know, sharing that with the community, because it's just so important. Just finally moving on, because you've got this business and you've set up quite a few other services. So right now I know that you're doing mobile hijama work. So you're not running the clinic anymore, but you are going out and about and doing bits and bobs with hijama work for people who really need it. And mainly you're doing your online self-defense classes. So have you got any advice for Muslims in particular, but women in general, about entrepreneurship and just following your path? And essentially it's monetizing your passion, because I know you're crazy about this stuff and you love it and you really enjoy your work, but you're also money from it, and it's okay.
It is okay, and it's alhamdulillah, it's a halal way of earning a living, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And there, you know, ladies, there will be days where there'll be some patients who maybe can't afford your treatment, and alhamdulillah, when you are blessed with a gift, I will gift a treatment, because I'm alhamdulillah in a place where I'm able to do so. So although we do monetize it, there's plenty of clients that you will be able to say, do you know what, you're not going to charge. But you are able to charge, and the same way I will do plenty of workshops with my Strike Back where I don't charge ladies. I've just taught a school of girls in Trinidad online, and we didn't charge them because they were in a place where they're not able to make that, but they will make dua for us. So it's a balance. It's an absolute balance, but it's certainly something you can do. I now have clients who've known me for many, many years. I've got clients who we've done fertility treatment and I've got babies now, alhamdulillah, mashallah. And to know, and when I meet them on the street and they've got their little one and it's through fertility treatment we've done, alhamdulillah, that is such a blessing, and that in itself is what it is about. I've got patients that come, so I'm in Birmingham, I've got patients that come from Manchester, and I have one particular amazing auntie she's 85, and she will not take any medication at all. And when I have the clinic, she would come every month on the same, Sunday day, every month with her daughter. Her daughter would drive her all the way from Manchester to come and see me because she wouldn't go anywhere else then for hijama treatment. And she would jump on that couch, I kid you not, like a 6-year-old. She was so energetic, but all she believed in was hijama treatment. And that was the only thing. And she was 86. So you will get your clients that will, and even now I'm not there, so I'm working mobile. I will go out, and my regular clients, I will go and see them, and through word of mouth, through your etiquette and your aqidah and the way you are will speak volumes about you. Your humbleness will speak volumes about you. People will talk, and people now, when I get phone calls, people will say, somebody recommended you because they had some treatment with you, and I've been looking for somebody, alhamdulillah, please will you see me? And that alone is I can't tell you how emotional that makes you and how humble that makes you, that somebody's putting their faith in you at a time where they need you for you to be able to help them. And that alone is it's a form of ibadah, and it's Allah sending you for them to help them. And there will be patients that can't pay, and there'll be plenty of patients that can pay. So that's your call and your balance, and you judge it how you will. But there is nothing wrong with charging money and making halal living, because that's what we know from, our prophets, wives, they were business women, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you will set up, and you will find, and people will find you, and I will always say your humbleness and the way you are with people and how you treat people speaks volumes way before, and your reputation goes before you. And I know people will come to me because somebody recommended you. So I barely advertise now, but my phone, so we're in pandemic and lockdown, but I've got a list full of people waiting for treatments, and I barely at all advertise now. It's all word of mouth. So alhamdulillah, the blessings are there, but what is meant for you and written for you will always be yours. So I don't worry that, this week I've not had patients or nobody's called me, because I know what is written for me will always be mine. And 10 other hijama practitioners could set up next door to me, but it doesn't matter, sisters, because what is yours will always be yours, and you don't need to worry about that. So support other sisters and form a community with them, because they will be able to help, and they'll refer clients to you when they can't treat, and vice versa. So it's a fabulous community, and it's an amazing way to meet other sisters too.
Alhamdulillah. I do have a few more questions, but I'm mindful of time because I know you have to actually rush off, but I'm quite happy to stay. So let's just do like fire away type questions. So first of all, any tips for students who are on the course now and they're stuck?
Persevere, absolutely persevere. We have on Google, so if there's an anatomical term you're stuck on, look them up. But even with my background, there were times when I was like, this is so long, I need to keep going, but persevere. It really, really is worth it. It's like anything in life. Nothing in life comes easy. Nothing worth doing in life comes easy. And there will always be tests. There's going to be tests for everything. There'll be times when you find the journey hard, and suddenly, have faith. Pray for yourself and have faith for yourself, and your journey will get easier. But there's always people at HQ that can help you out. And if there's something you're really, really stuck on that you don't know how to do, there'll always be somebody that can help you out. And we have sort of the hijama sort of email group, and there'll always be somebody that can advise on there. So you're not on your own. You really, really aren't on your own. But persevere, stick with it, keep going. Don't let yourself get stuck. You can have a bad day, but the next day is a new day. So start all over again. Every time you sit down with the faith that I can do this. I can absolutely do this. You've been put on this path for a reason. So follow it through. Follow your heart and follow it through. Persevere, stick with it.
Wonderful advice. And now, what would your message be for new graduates or, potential entrepreneurs, people who are venturing out in business now?
Go for it. Absolutely go for it. You've worked this hard, and you've been blessed with a qualification that, and not every, you know what, not everybody can get it. It's not written for everybody, but you've been blessed with this sunnah treatment that you can treat other humans. And you've got to understand what a huge blessing that is to be able to help other people. When you've treated that auntie whose knees were sore and now she can walk better, and you see her and she gives you those du'as, that in itself is enough to make you for the rest of your life say, this is what I want to do, because there's so many blessings in it. The du'as that come back, for me, my success and, you know, how well I've done, alhamdulillah, I completely put it down to faith and other people's du'as and aunties' du'as and other sisters' du'as, and that's why you do it. That's ultimately why you do it, because you know it does good, and you know, to help a fellow human being when they need it. It's your duty. You have that skill now, and you have that talent, and you've been given that qualification. So don't sit around wasting that qualification. Absolutely. Even if it's your friends you're treating, your family you're treating, get that practice in, get used to it. You know, that first time you do it is nerve-wracking and you think, how am I going to do this? But get used to it. The more you do it, the more it becomes second nature. And then you do it, although every time you treat a new client or somebody new, it's serious business, and you need to take their health very, very seriously. But it becomes second nature. And you look forward to your new clients and the new people you'll see, and it brings such a joy to your day about what you've got to do, and especially when you see the results, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, the results are always amazing. Can you think of one very quick case study? Just mention something that pops into your head straight away, which was the most profound case you've had and has impacted you even personally.
For me, it's so I've treated two ladies who couldn't, who had difficulty conceiving and having children, and the first lady, she's a really good friend now, and she'd had multiple miscarriages, couldn't get pregnant, and had IVF and had various other sort of fertility treatments. So we followed a course, and she was with me. We did over sort of 6 months, sort of various different things, and every month seeing her. And alhamdulillah, before we had the 7th month treatment, she messaged me and said she was expecting, and she's had a little girl, and it's completed her family, alhamdulillah. And I see her now, and I see her little girl, alhamdulillah, and mashallah, and we just give each other the biggest hug now when it's there, and I'm watching her little girl grow up. And yes, of course, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to be able to have been part of that journey and to help, for me, I think till my end of days, that will always be probably the most special for me. And since then, so I've got 2 or 3 new ladies now who've heard and have come. But I will always say, have faith, and it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't come from me, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. And then I'm just there to help you on your journey to get there. But to be part of somebody's journey where you've been able to help them and they've now got a child is something else.
Yeah, mashallah, it is truly a blessing for us, because we actually see miracles every day. I've seen some profound cases. I mean, I wish we had more time. I wanted to discuss metaphysical cases with you too, but right now we have to rush off. Maybe we can save that for another day, inshallah, when you're free. Final thoughts. Do you have a message for all of your listeners right now, people who are going to be viewing this video or listening on our podcast? What are your final words to them? Any last thoughts or messages?
I think I will always say, sisters and brothers, it's a blessing. It's a blessing that's come your way. For me, it was, if I hadn't got poorly, if I hadn't got sick, I would never have come across it. So everything that is written for you is written for you for a reason. We know, and we have that saying, don't we? We plan, but Allah is the best of planners. So this plan was written for me whenever it was written for me to get poorly and to find hijama and to do the things that I do now. And without getting poorly, I would never have found hijama. I would never have practiced or become a practitioner, and certainly not done things like my self-defense now that I do. So trust your path and trust your journey. If hijamas come your way, persevere and do it. It is a blessing in your life like I cannot tell you, like no other. Don't give up. We are tested. We are tested in multiple ways, and we know that, and our faith tells us that we are tested. But keep going on that test. Keep going on that path. Persevere. Get your qualification. Practice the treatment. And I say du'as for sis and hijama nation all the time, and I always say, I always remember you in my du'as. because you've given me the opportunity to do what I do, and return, get du'as from other people. And that's surely what it's got to be ultimately about doing some good while we are on this earth, and leaving a good name for ourselves because we've helped other people.
Awesome.
So
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your amazing story with us. Truly, you know, you are such an inspiration for so many people, and I appreciate you, you know, spending this hour with me. And thank you so much. And inshallah, I'm sure we're still going to be following your journey, and same with us as well. We're all going to grow together. We've all got the same mission, the same goals, and inshallah, we're going to carry on helping people, inshallah. So thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair for having me, sis. Jazakallah khair. Okay, assalamu alaikum, everybody.